Evening, everybody. Sorry for the late post. I had some major computer issues. I am not tech savvy whatsoever. Anyways, so better late than never. So here's my Module 5 discussion for Group 1. We're asked to do at least 2 of the following questions per chapter and then the case question below. So for Chapter 7, how and why do authors differentiate between leadership and management? Excuse me. So they differentiate management and leadership on page 193. Management is just a way to have a manager make sure that those programs are being accomplished, right? Major programs within an organization and leadership, they're thinking long term, how you're going to get those people to continue long term and meet the vision or the goal of the organization. So, I guess one of the best ways to explain it is kind of my position would be within my unit. I'm technically the base manager, base services manager, where I am making sure that the food and lodging and fitness are being accomplished within the unit right now. Leadership, on the other side, that will kind of fall into the superintendent side of things, which I kind of am also, where there are kind of grooming. I guess coaching is another word, a term for it. Some lower enlisted members to get to the point where I'm at, to take on what I'm doing now as I move on further up the echelon ladder. And then number 3, discuss the importance of mentorship and coaching in a desired career track. Have you experienced it? How have you missed it? How can you apply this information better? There are 3 types of coaching. The book talks about it on page 223 and 224. Knowledge-based, behavior or skill-based, and affection or affection. Anyways, types of coaching. So again, I'm gonna use my example like knowledge-based. There's a lot of things. For example, I technically can't buy water with a government purchase card, right? I just actually talked to somebody about that, and then they're like, "Well, I didn't know that." Stuff that they really don't tell you about it unless you are in that position. So, got into explaining. Technically, that's a civil engineering program. They're the ones that's supposed to supply the base or the installation with purified water. They have the equipment for it. Therefore, we cannot do it even though we provide water through our dining facilities. So it's just kind of one of those GWIZ type of things. Skill-based behavior. We do have a lot of equipment, field equipment, that a lot of people don't know about. So, taking the time to teach the brand new members how to take those things apart the correct way, put them back together so it's operational again, if in case they need to troubleshoot it for some reason down the field. And then the affection one, that one you're kind of brushing up on their people skills, their interpersonal skills. There was some incident where a person came to me and asked, "Hey, how would you handle this situation? Let me run the scenario by you." And then I'll listen, and then I give my 2 cents about the conversation, and then they would either take that advice or not. So it's just kind of molding them into a more well-rounded supervisor down the road. For Chapter 8, define and differentiate between identity, image, and culture. What are they and how do they work? So on page 237, it talks about identity, image, and culture, and it gives you different examples of that. Identity, is basically my how do I identify myself given in that organization. I'm a services superintendent. Therefore, this is how I identify myself. The same way as in the military, we wear a uniform. That's how we are identifying ourselves. The image is what others perceives of perceives as of us. Holy smokes, I cannot speak today. Um, it's kind of like the outsider's perspective of what we are or what the organization is. I've given this example before about security forces. Those guys are security forces or the police of the Air Force. So, me looking in their shop, there's a bunch of uh, energy drinks all over the place. There's snacks all over the place. Those guys are always on the go. But another thing that sets them apart from everybody else in the Air Force, besides the pilots, is their black beret. There are some other special operation guys that do have different colored berets, and that's how we identify them. And the culture is just that overarching culture in the military, wearing a uniform. A lot of people, to include different branches, had a huge issue about the Air Force changing their uniform again to OCPs, or I don't even know what we just know it as OCPs, but we changed our uniform to be like the Army. The only thing that differentiates different from the Army is the color on the lettering on your name tags. That's it. And now the Space Force has also incorporated the OCP camouflage to their stuff. I know the Navy kind of had like a digitized color that was very similar to the Marines' digitized color. So, but they were trying to incorporate that everybody has the same type of uniform. But it is, in that diagram 8.1 on page 237, it talks about how the people are, it's always a circular motion. There's always give and take to keep that culture, identity, and excuse me, image going, to keep it going through time. And then the other one is the similarities and differences between organizational identity and identification. So the way I understood identification and identity was, this is my the identity would be of the organization. The organization keeps its identity going by whatever rules they have or what type of controls that they have. Identifications is by the member. And that's kind of where I just kind of like, what? To me, they're one and the same. But hopefully somebody can clear that up for me, because I'm a little bit confused on that one. The case question, I'm assuming, has something to do, well, the case study is about the Kate and her experience within the new job that she was getting to. So page 37 is talking about identity, image, and culture. That's on chapter 8. And her identity, her image, and culture was being formed or morphed into this outdated, no initiative type of climate that the CEO really didn't do anything about it. And I was actually kind of getting frustrated just reading that case study, to be honest with you, because I don't know how or why she even lasted that long, because personally I would have left a long time ago if that was the type of stuff that climate was perpetuated. On page 211 to 213 on chapter 7, the fellowship model is kind of what stood out to me. Not necessarily that there were the good traits of following or followership, but the bad traits. What they were doing weren't really positive. There were a lot of their people were disgruntled. That was just the way things are, or even they got more disgruntled. due to the fact that Kate was actually trying to do things and accomplish her own goals. Many of them were disengaged from it all. It's like, oh, that's just how business is. You'll get used to it. And then Kate was the doer, and she wanted to do it all. She felt empowered by what the CEO told her, but he really never did anything. He was just kind of laid back. I think the term that a lot of people use in the military is laissez-faire. Didn't really do anything. It was really hard for him to get to do anything. So that's my discussion for this week. Hopefully you guys enjoy, and get to exchange some thoughts and ideas with you guys. And you guys have a good night.